Today, we are diving into one of the absolute titans of literature, Homer's ancient epic, the Iliad. Now, you probably think you know this story. Gods, heroes, a big war, all that stuff. But I promise you, the real story at the heart of the Iliad is not what you're expecting.
Okay, let me ask you a quick question. When I say the words Trojan War, what is the very first image that pops into your head? For almost everyone, it's one single iconic thing.
Yup, I knew it. The Trojan horse. That massive, brilliant wooden horse that the Greeks used to sneak into the city and finally win the war. It's the climax, the big finish, the most famous part of the whole tale. Well, prepare to have your mind blown. It's not in there at all. The Trojan horse, the fall of Troy, the end of the war, none of it is actually in Homer's Iliad. The poem just ends long before any of that happens. So if it's not about the end of the war, what is it about? Well, it's something much more intimate, actually. It's a deep, deep psychological dive that's laser-focused on one single, destructive human emotion. That's right. The whole epic, thousands of lines of poetry, really boils down to one thing: rage. And the poem tells you this right from the very first word. Talk about getting straight to the point. Homer doesn't mess around. The opening line is basically an instruction. Hey, Muse, the story we're telling here is about the rage of Achilles. This one guy's anger is the engine that drives every single thing that happens. And we gotta talk about this specific Greek word for rage, menos. This isn't your garden variety anger. This isn't just being mad. Menos is a god-level fury. It's a terrifying cosmic force of nature that just brings ruin to everything and everyone it touches. So what on earth could set off a rage like that?
Well, it all starts not with a huge battle, but with a bitter argument in the Greek camp. And it's a fight that cuts right to the core of what it meant to be a hero in this world. So here's the play-by-play. Agamemnon, the big boss of the Greek army, has to give back his prize of war, a woman named Chryseis. But his ego is bruised, so to make himself feel better, he just walks over and takes Achilles' war prize, Briseis, in front of everybody. For Achilles, this is the ultimate public slap in the face. And his reaction? Fine, you want to fight this war without me? Good luck. And he takes his elite soldiers and goes to his tent to sulk.
Now, to really get why this was such a nuclear-level insult, you have to understand this concept of time. Think of it as a warrior's reputation, their status, their street cred, all made physical. Your time was proven by the loot and the prizes you won. So when Agamemnon takes Briseis, he's not just taking something from Achilles. He is publicly declaring that Achilles has no honor, that he's worthless. So Achilles sits on the sidelines, fuming. And just as he hoped, the Greeks start getting absolutely destroyed. And this sets the stage for the story's great turning point, and one of the most heartbreaking moments in all of literature.
The Trojans, led by their greatest warrior Hector, are on a roll. They've pushed the Greeks all the way back to their own ships and are about to set them on fire. It's a disaster. Everyone begs Achilles to come back, but he's too proud. He does agree to a compromise, though. He'll let his best friend, his soulmate really, Patroclus, wear his famous armor to scare the Trojans and rally the Greeks. Achilles gives him one crystal-clear instruction. Push them away from the shits, and that's it. Come right back. But Patroclus gets out there, and he's a natural. He gets swept up in the heat of battle, the Aristia, and he forgets the warning. He chases the Trojans all the way back to the walls of Troy, and there his luck runs out. He's killed by Hector. When Achilles hears the news, he doesn't just get sad. He completely unravels. It's this raw, animalistic grief. He's screaming, covering himself in filth and ash, literally rolling on the ground and tearing his hair out. He is utterly broken by a sorrow that is just as immense as his rage. And that grief, it changes him. It curdles. The rage he felt about his honor, that was one thing. But this new rage, born from grief, is something else entirely. It's colder. It's darker. It's barely human.
Achilles goes back to Agamemnon and formally ends their feud. But you can tell he doesn't care anymore. The honor, the prizes, none of it matters. His whole world, his whole being has shrunk down to one single terrifying point: kill Hector. And you really see how far he's gone when he finally confronts Hector on the battlefield. As Hector is dying, he pleads with Achilles to return his body to his family for a proper burial. Achilles' response is just chilling. It tells you everything you need to know. This isn't a hero anymore. He's become a monster.
And he does exactly what he threatens. He ties Hector's body to the back of his chariot and just drags it for days. He circles the walls of Troy, making sure Hector's parents, his wife, his whole city sees this ultimate act of desecration. It is so brutal, so beyond the pale, that even the gods on Mount Olympus are horrified. Now, the story could have ended right there. Revenge is complete, the hero gets his vengeance, but Homer gives us one last incredible scene. A scene that lifts this whole story from a tale of revenge into something truly profound about what it means to be human. Hector's father, the old King Priam, does something impossibly brave. He travels in the dead of night, alone, deep into the enemy camp. His goal? To find Achilles. To find the man who killed and mutilated his son, and beg him for the body. And when he finds him, he kneels. He grabs Achilles' knees, and he kisses the very hands that slaughtered his son. But he doesn't appeal to Achilles as a warrior. He does something much more powerful. He appeals to him as a son. He says, "Think of your own father, waiting for you to come home." A home Achilles knows he'll never see. And in that instant, Priam's words cut through all the rage, all the hate. Achilles looks at this old man, his sworn enemy, and he doesn't see a Trojan king. He sees his own father. He sees his own grief reflected in Priam's eyes. And the two of them, the killer and the father, weep together, not as enemies, but as two human beings united in loss. The rage is finally over. Achilles gives Hector's body back. And the entire epic poem ends, not with a great battle or the fall of a city, but quietly, with the funeral of one man. So why? Why, after almost 3,000 years, are we still so captivated by this story? I think it's because it's about so much more than just a war. It asks these huge, timeless questions. It looks unflinchingly at how pride and anger can destroy us. It shows the devastating human price of violence. It puts that impossible choice right in front of you. Do you live a long, quiet life and are forgotten? Or do you live a short, glorious one and become a legend? And, most beautifully, it shows that empathy can bloom in the most unlikely of places. The entire poem leaves us with the exact same choice that Achilles himself had to make. He chose glory, and because of that, we're still talking about him thousands of years later. But the Iliad forces us to ask, was it worth it? Was it worth all that pain, all that loss? And that's a question that feels just as urgent today as it did back then.